Moscow. A hot spring evening. Two literary men stroll by the patriarch's ponds, arguing loudly that God does not exist and that Jesus is a myth. They are clever, confident, and utterly certain of themselves, until a strange foreign professor joins them on the bench. He calls himself Woland. His eyes are ancient, his smile is amused, and as the light fades, he quietly tells them how long ago he stood beside Pontius Pilate in Jerusalem and watched the questioning of a wandering preacher named Yeshua. The men laugh. They insist such things never happened. So Woland makes a prediction. One of them, Berlioz, will soon die, decapitated, right here in Moscow. Moments later, on the tram tracks, the prophecy comes true. A spill of oil, a slip, a scream, steel breaks shrieking, then silence. Berlioz's head rolls away like a broken toy. The surviving poet, Ivan, runs through the city in terror, chasing the foreigner and his bizarre companions. A pale hitman, a sarcastic ex-choirmaster, a seductive red-haired woman, and an enormous black cat who laughs, swears, and fires a revolver as easily as it begs for herring. No one believes Ivan. By dawn, he is locked in a psychiatric clinic, his story dismissed as madness. There, behind the barred windows, he meets a man who has lost everything but his pain. He has no name now, only a title, the Master. Once he was a writer. He poured his soul into a novel about Pontius Pilate and Yeshua HaNozri, a quiet truth-teller who faces the machinery of empire. But Moscow's critics tore the book to pieces. They mocked him. They crushed him. In despair, he burned the manuscript and allowed himself to be swallowed by the asylum's gray walls. Only one thing still burns in him, the memory of his love, Margaritta. He believes he has lost her forever. Outside the clinic, Moscow is falling under Woland's shadow. He seizes a comfortable apartment as his headquarters, expels its owners without a second thought, and begins his performance. Money rains from the ceiling of a packed variety theater. Women find themselves suddenly dressed in Parisian gowns, then stripped naked in the middle of the street. Officials vanish, reappear miles away, or go mad explaining away talking cats and disappearing heads as mass hypnosis. Everywhere, greed is exposed, cowardice is unmasked. The devil doesn't create these sins, he simply peels back the skin of the city and lets them writhe in the open. Interwoven with this chaos is another story, the story in the Master's destroyed book. Jerusalem, burning sun. Pontius Pilate, plagued by a savage headache, interrogates Yeshua, a wandering philosopher with gentle eyes. Yeshua says there is no power over a man except the power that man grants. He speaks of kindness, of truth, of a kingdom not of this world. Pilate knows the charges are lies. He knows this man is innocent, and yet he is afraid of the priests, afraid of the crowd, afraid of Rome. In the end, fear triumphs. He signs the order. Yeshua is led away to execution, and Pilate condemns himself to a lifetime of torment, forever walking under a merciless moon, replaying the moment when he chose safety over truth. Back in Moscow, another soul is reaching her breaking point. Margaritta. She is beautiful, intelligent, married to a wealthy man, and utterly, desperately unhappy. Her heart belongs to the Master, the man whose novel was spat on and destroyed. She believes he is dead or mad beyond recall. Her world is a gilded cage. Then, on an ordinary afternoon, a stranger appears with an extraordinary offer. A small jar, a strange ointment. One condition: she must agree to serve Woland. Margaritta hesitates only a moment. For the master, she is willing to risk anything. She anoints her body. The room dissolves. She rises from the floor like smoke, weightless, powerful, invisible. Her clothes fall away. The city opens beneath her. Laughing wildly, she soars naked over Moscow's roofs, over rivers and parks, a witch in the black spring air. She swoops down on the apartment of the critic who destroyed the master's career and shatters it in a storm of revenge, books, glass, and furniture flying like leaves in a hurricane. This is only the beginning. Woland has chosen her for a darker honor. On the night of Good Friday, Margaritta becomes queen of Satan's grand ball. Black roses bloom from cracks in the floor. A staircase of skulls gleams under crimson light. From every corner of the world and every corner of history, the dead come marching in. Poisoners, executioners, traitors, their crimes clinging to them like perfume. Margaritta, barefoot and calm, greets them one by one. She smiles at murderers, nods to tyrants, offers her hand to the damned, never flinching, never faltering. Hours later, as dawn approaches, the ball ends. Exhausted, spattered with blood and champagne, Margaritta stands before Woland. He offers her a reward, any wish. She could demand her own happiness. Instead, she asks mercy for another, Frida, a woman she has just met at the ball, who is condemned to relive the memory of smothering her child every single day. Woland is amused. She has used her wish not for herself, but for a stranger. He grants Frida mercy. Then, still smiling, he offers Margaritta a second wish. Now there is no hesitation. Bring me the master. The room shivers. From the darkness he steps forward, the man she thought lost forever, worn, haunted, still convinced he belongs in madness and oblivion. In each other's arms they are whole again, but they no longer belong to the ordinary world. Easter night. The city glows with pale light and cold indifference. Somewhere beyond its edges, another world waits. Woland mounts his black horse. His retinue gathers, the cat, the killers, the witch. He invites the master and Margaritta to ride with him. Not to heaven, they are not saints. Not to hell, they are not damned. Instead, he offers them a quiet eternity. A small, secluded refuge beyond time where they may be together, undisturbed, where the master can finally finish the story that cost him his sanity. They accept. The procession rides out of Moscow. The city falls behind them like a bad dream. On a lonely hill in that other realm, a modest house waits, lit by a soft, unending twilight. There, the master opens his manuscript once more. There, he writes the ending of Pilate's story. In that final chapter, the Roman governor at last steps out of the moonlit balcony where he has been trapped for centuries. He walks along a narrow path of silver light towards the figure of Yeshua, who waits with patient kindness. "You are free," the master whispers over the pages, and far away, in time, in space, in the soul of a man who once chose fear, something heavy falls away. Pilate is forgiven. Back in Moscow, life resumes its ordinary, anxious rhythm. Officials explain away talking cats, vanished bureaucrats, and raining money as hysteria, mischief, foreign sabotage. People nod, accept, forget. Only a few remember. One of them is Ivan, the poet. Every year, on a certain spring night, he dreams of a quiet hill, a wandering teacher, a cowardly governor, and a couple walking hand in hand into gentle, eternal peace. He wakes with tears on his face, unable to say why. And somewhere, beyond the reach of tram bells and party slogans, beyond fear, beyond cruelty, the Master and Margaritta live on, together, at last, in the peace they paid for their suffering and their love.